What's up, everybody? It's your girl, Jocelyn O Sports, because I do. And it is a great day to be legendary indeed, because I got Coach Marks, the head coach of the Atlanta Truth, blessing me with his presence tonight. And to be honest, I'm flattered because I know you don't like to do a lot of podcast, social media stuff. So I'm going to take that as a win for me. So we're going to go ahead and get right into it. If you could just kind of introduce yourself, where you're from, where did you start falling in love with football, and just kind of how did it lead your journey to becoming a head coach?
Sure. Well, Kameron Marks. I grew up in outside of Chicago, so south suburbs of Chicago. And to be honest, football has really just always been a part of my life. My brother played when we were kids. My dad was a coach. So I was just always around the game, always loved it. Big Chicago Bears fan, big University of Michigan, go blue fan. Um, oh, not that fan.
Whoa, whoa, coach, I'm a Bama girl now.
Go blue. Go blue. Anyway, nah. So it's really just always been a part of my life. I've been an athlete all my life as well, and football was just that sport that I really just didn't have the opportunity to play. Things are a little bit different now that you do have little girls that are like playing on boys teams and stuff, and that really wasn't that prevalent when I was a kid. So it's good to see that coming about now. Um, but yeah, was an athlete. Went away to school, came back to Chicago for law school. Was playing recreational sports, basketball, softball. So met a lot of people through that, and they were basically like, "Hey, did you ever think about football?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I've thought about it." Like, I don't what else. But then they told me about the Chicago Force, which was the team in Chicago, and at the time they were actually in a whole different league that doesn't even exist anymore. Um, Went to the first tryout and was just absolutely hooked from there. So I played for the Force for 11 years. 11
Yeah.
years. I won't give you the dates because I won't
A
date
little
myself.
minute, a little minute.
I won't date myself like that. Um, but no, played with them for 11 years. Won a championship with them. I played for Team USA 3 times. So went to Canada, Finland, Sweden. Part of, in my opinion, some of the most dominant women's teams to ever take the field. Um, yeah, so I mean, it's just always been a part of who I am. So
Well, I think we all grateful it's a part of who you are, because it it kind of translates on the field for the rest of us. But I will say you're very modest about it. For me doing research, you weren't just a player on the team, you were a star player on almost every team that you had a chance to play on. I'm wondering, what was that transition for you when you knew it was time to hang up the cleats and pick up the clipboard? Like, what was it?
uh, honestly, age. Um, you know, I,
Life be life.
yeah, and I mean, I think football is a sport you have to play with a certain level of reckless abandon, right? Like you have to just be willing to put your body on the line every practice, every game. Going 100%, willing to throw yourself into piles and on top of balls and all that kind of stuff. And it's not a sport that you can play scared. And when I got to a point in my career where I was, a little more hesitant to dive into some of these piles, I'm like, yeah, it's probably time to start thinking about hanging it up. Um, and then my team actually went out of existence in 2017.
That'll do it. That will also be a thing.
Yeah, so that was a good reason. But then I also moved down to Atlanta in 2019, and I actually it's funny. A really good friend of mine, one of my best friends, is the GM of the Prodigy. Um,
Okay.
and so whenever they used to come down to Atlanta to play, she would always stay with me. And so I would go to the game. And it was like the first year she did that, I felt the itch again. So I actually went back. I played for the Prodigy for a season and a half
Okay.
because I had told the coach over there that if I ever came back, like I would play with them.
Sometimes you got a little juice in the tank. It may not be a full cup, but a little squeak.
Yeah. Like, and then after that last season, like I just really felt that I was done, and I feel like I could still play, but I feel like there's so much more that I can give to this game on this side of the field than there is like being actually on the field at this point. So, it's
I
something
can see that.
you got to pass the torch and, move forward. So,
I feel you, coach. I'm not a spring chicken myself. So you can't, your body also kind of lets you know. I agree to that.
for sure.
But I do have a question. What was it in that mindset where you're just like, I'm gonna start coaching? Because like how you said, you had that 1 year where you like, you know what? I got one more year left in me. What was that transition like for you?
Um, to be honest, I just wanted to still be involved in the game. And I felt like I was fortunate that I had some really good coaches throughout my career, but none of them were female, and that was a big deal to me. Like, we talk about growing this game, but we have to do more than just grow it on the field, right? Like we have to grow it in coaching, in management, in ownership. Like we have to be fans of our own sport, and a part of doing that is finding how can we give back, right? I don't get to just play this game and take everything from it and travel with it and win things with it and meet all of these amazing people and then not give anything back to it. So when the opportunity came up actually with another team here in Atlanta to start coaching, I was like, yeah, I'm definitely here for doing that. I had coached previously for Loyola in Chicago. They have a club team. So
Okay.
I spent 2 years coaching linebackers with them. So that kind of like, started my
Poke
post
the bear a little bit.
career. Yeah. And so then when I got down here, that opportunity presented itself. I was like, absolutely, I want to do this. And then you fall in love with the game all over again, just in a different way, right? You start having to be responsible for the X's and O's, and it's less about your execution on the field and how do I get the people that I'm working with to execute what I see.
I love that. I love that answer. And I think it's so important to pour back into our sport because people ask me a lot of times, like, why do you niche down to women's sports? And I'm like, why would I not? There are a lot of people who are watching and covering and spending so much time on the other sports that they don't always watch our games. They don't always highlight the game. So it became like a passion project of mine to be able to tell the stories of the person behind the
Mhm.
ball
And I
because we
think
all can watch football, right?
yeah, I mean, and that's important, right? Like that's how we get our game out there, right? Like we have to figure out what is the market that we're trying to sell this game to. And if you're trying to sell it to somebody that's a huge NFL fan, right? Like just based on just the way that we're built, right? Women just don't have the same abilities that men do in terms of, jumping, running,
Yeah,
strength, anything like that. So it's a different game. But it's a different game in the same way that women's basketball is different, right? Men's basketball is played above the rim. Women's basketball, for the most part, is played below it, but it's more of a team sport, right? Like it's more about technique and being technical in what you're doing than it is about showcasing how high you can jump.
I
And
agree.
like, but that's something that you have to sell to the people that understand that distinction and appreciate the game for what it is and are not trying to compare it to an NFL game or an NFL team or a male player, right? That's not what we are. We have our own game. Yes, we operate for the most part under the same rules, but it's our game, and grow to love our game because of what we're doing and not because you are trying to compare us to what the Bears are doing or the Falcons are doing.
Hey, we have our own nuances. So you kind of got me skipping a question.
Oh, my bad.
So I want no, I love it. I always love when the dialogue is flowing. So that kind of takes me to one of my other questions where I was going to ask, how do you see the evolution of the game? Because we tapped in so many things right there with that answer.
Mhm.
I always tell people I look at women's football as being as big as what the WNBA is now, if not bigger. Because if you are seasoned, I'll call us seasoned. If you're seasoned like us, you remember back in 95, 96 when the WNBA was just this weird thing that no one wanted a part of, and now you got $1 million contracts.
Yeah,
So from your point of view, where do you kind of see the evolution of women's football going? And you can include flag and tackle, or you can separate the two.
sure. It's so much has changed, since I started playing so much. And it's not it's the leagues have changed, the teams have changed, the players have changed, the coaching has changed. I think back to like when I first started, all the games that you played were in your area, right? Like I
Yeah.
think the furthest that you ever traveled was maybe 5, 6 hours, and even in doing that, you were driving yourself, right? Like
Yeah.
you as as a team, you were lucky if you were staying over and you
Yeah.
weren't having to play and then turn around and drive yourself home. Um, to now we fly all over the country to play. For the most part, teams when we have road trips, it's a bus, it's a team bus that we're taking. Um, the players have changed. Like these ladies are so much more athletic than we were, because they have a better understanding of everything it takes to play at a high level, right? They understand that is you can't just show up. You have to be in the gym. You have to be running. You have to be working out on your own. You have to be working out with coaches. You have to really build your craft, right? Like this is a craft for them where it was a hobby for us, right? Like they take this game seriously in a way that we just never envisioned. And I honestly think that Team USA played a huge part in that because it really just opened the football world up, right? Like before, so the first Team USA was 2010. Before that, you knew the players on your team. Like
That's it.
you knew one or two other people because maybe you came from another team or maybe you just had a friend somewhere else that was playing, but there wasn't this whole like football community that existed. And then 2010 happened, and you took 45 women from I don't remember how many different teams, 10 different teams, something like that. And you brought together all these people that absolutely hated each other. And I am not exaggerating. I'll actually tell you. So when 2010 happened, we had a playoff game against the Dallas Diamonds the
Okay.
weekend before training camp started. Went down to Dallas. We ended up losing. I'd say they cheated. They'll say they didn't. It was 105 in the shade. But
Coach, don't make me go look up the tape now.
listen, but you walked away from that game and you were like you were still stinging from that loss, right? Like you knew your club, if you will, season was over. And now I have to go and spend like 3 weeks with these people. Are you kidding me? Um, but you went into it with that attitude and you walked out of it. I still have some of the closest friends I've ever had, like from that team. And it was like from that point, the whole world just kind of the whole football world just kind of opened up to everybody, right? Like it
I
wasn't
love that.
I just know the people on my team anymore. Now I know people on pretty much every team that we're gonna play, and it just built from there, right? And every subsequent USA team, it just kept building, kept building, kept building. So that's really been like the biggest evolution that I've seen is just it's a whole community now, right? It's not just you know these people on your team. Now you know football people.
That's true.
And obviously like this is pre-social media. So that was really the only kind of time or early social media, I won't say pre, early social media.
Well, Yahoo don't count, Coach.
Nah, I
I'm
mean,
just kidding.
we didn't like we had a group Facebook page in 2013, but we didn't have one for 10. So it was you called people, you talked to people, you saw people, and you played with them, and so you really just got to know people. And then as far as like the evolution on the game on the field, coaching has gotten so much better, right? Like I think
Okay.
a lot of coaches used to come into this and treat it like Pop Warner, right? So you're
Mm,
running very basic offenses, you're running very basic defenses. It's not a whole lot of explanation. It's more just, I drew this up on the board, kind of like flag really used to
mm,
be. You had a risk coach that had all the plays drawn out on it, and we're running play 5, right?
yeah.
There's no explanation for concepts. There's no explanation for schemes. You're not actually learning anything. You're just being told
Just
what
out there. You doing it to do it.
exactly. Um, but you look at like the type of offenses and defenses and stuff that we run now, and we run, really complex schemes now. Like, and it's important for me. And one of the things that, I kind of always stress with my coaches is I want these ladies to learn the game, right? I want them to have high football IQs when they walk away from this game. I want them to be able to like sit and watch an NFL game and have a completely different understanding of what's going on the field, as
Yeah.
opposed to I'm just sitting here being a spectator. Like, no, I'm actually breaking this down. I can say like, yeah, they were in a cover three, they were in a cover two. Like I can say these things and I can speak about this and sound, intelligent when I'm doing it because I'm actually learning football.
I love that. So speaking of X's and O's, right? So
X's and O's.
who doesn't know, if you don't know, coach is very much a defensive minded person. You played on the defensive side of the ball
Yes.
and you coached on the defensive side of the ball before you came a head coach. Now, don't get me wrong. If y'all are watching, I love my lemon pepper steppers on the defensive side of the ball. But as a coach, you got to be proud of the offense, right? You got top two quarterback. You got the number one receiver in the league, who is a rookie. So that's crazy to me. And you got a top five running back. So your offense is leading most of all the categories. How does that make you feel as someone who usually kind of thinks of defense first?
I honestly, I'm just so proud, like of the offense as a whole, right? And it's easy to call out, those people that are leading, in stats, but it's so much more than that, right? Like all the people that don't have stats, right? Like
O
there's
line, the O line been out there pancaking a few folks.
exactly, it's there's just so much that goes into those people being able to achieve what they're achieving as individuals. Um, and I think back to like where we were last year, and we were building. We had a very dominant defense last year. We have a very dominant defense this year. And
I was finna
it's just
say.
great to, finally like to see our offense catching up, right? And holding their own and proving to the league like, yeah, we do know how to score points here in Atlanta. Like we've had some blowouts, which,
We do a little bit of song.
yeah. But that's kudos just the offense as a whole. And all the coaches over there on the offensive side, Coach Tony, our offensive coordinator, Coach Floyd, Coach Eric, Coach Anton, Coach Ed, all of the coaches on the offensive side. We sat down at the beginning of this year and we're like, let's look back at where did we have mistakes last year? What do we need to grow on this year? Let's take this back to basics, right? Like let's re-talk about what do these route concepts actually mean, and let's start building that up. And give the ladies credit. They bought into the system. They've been in their playbooks. They've been in film. And this is just the product of really them putting in all the work behind the scenes to make the product on the field something worth watching. So I
I
am
love to see it.
incredibly proud of them.
I love to see it. I love to see it, coach. And so that kind of leads me to another question. I know you're gonna give me a coach answer. I done interviewed enough coaches to know I'm gonna get a coach answer for this. But the team is doing great, going up in the WNFC rankings. I see them playoff bound. I think what we have two more games on the schedule before that comes out. Are you looking towards the playoffs like these two games we gotta win, playoff push, or you gonna give me the coach answer like every game is the next game, we gotta win both games?
Uh, I think you start the season looking to playoffs, right? Like nobody starts the season without saying I want to win the championship this year. Um, but what I've been stressing all year is we're just playing for today, right? Tomorrow is going to be what it's going to be, and the only thing that we can control in this moment on this game day is how we play today. And we just kind of stood by that. So we've got two really good teams coming up. Like Jersey is a good football team.
Yeah,
Chicago is a very good football team. And it would be doing both of those teams a disservice if we were to look past them, into playoffs. But obviously, you have to start planning. You can't start working for playoffs after the season ends. So, in reality, everything that you do from preseason to camp through the beginning of the season is playoff prep, in my opinion.
Okay, I appreciate that, coach. That wasn't too much of a coach's answer. You gave me a little bit, a little bit. So you mentioned a lot of different teams throughout our call, right? You got ties to up north. I won't call out whatever color you called. And you were with the Washington Prodigy for a while. Why the Atlanta Truth? What was it about the Atlanta Truth where you just knew that team was building something and you wanted to be a part of it?
Well, I mean, this is where I live, so that
That helps.
helps. Um, but no, I got the call from OJ, asking me if I was interested. And to be honest, I had to think about it because it's a huge time commitment.
Yeah,
And taking on this role, it's a whole lot different than just being a position coach or even being a coordinator. And so I really, had to sit down and think about it and talk with my family. And, is this something that we want to commit to and, basically give our lives to for,
yeah.
7 months out of the year? And at the end of the day, it just wasn't an opportunity that I could turn down. I never had the privilege of playing football down here in Atlanta, but I did get to play flag with a number of the ladies that are on the team.
That's
Um,
pretty dope.
and, and I did have connections to some of the older players from some of the previous Atlanta teams, like, yeah, the Explosion. It's way back, um,
Oh,
and the Ravens and stuff. But um, yeah, I mean, it was just an opportunity to make sure that football was here in Atlanta. We certainly don't want to lose this franchise in the WNFC. I do think that this is a league that's doing the most across the country in terms of getting women's football out there. Um, and I just had this idea of what I thought Atlanta football could be, and here was an opportunity to do it, and I just couldn't pass that up.
I see that. I think it's working out, coach.
We're doing the best we can.
Y'all doing some good stuff down there, and it makes me proud to be watching it. So, one shout out to you, OJ. I can't let that go by, but I'm going to close out with this last question I always ask everyone. In 15 seconds or less, why should people be watching women's football?
Why shouldn't they?
I
Uh,
know that's right. And drops mic.
we have some incredible athletes out here, and they're women that dedicate their time, their bodies, their money, to doing something that they love. And why wouldn't you want to be a part of that, right?
I agree. I agree. Well, that is our time today. I am truly grateful for you tapping in with me, coach, and I'm truly grateful for everybody tapping in with us. And just like that, we about to be out this thing. Oh, if I press the right button, we will.